It's about, Caleb, knowing what you want,
Yeah.
but also knowing why you want it. Like,
Yeah.
because the quest for an A is absolutely meaningless
Yeah.
without a higher purpose.
This is Better Wealth with Caleb Williams. Jordan, my man, welcome to the show.
Caleb, thanks for having me. I was hoping you'd ask me.
You're like, it's about time, my friend. It's about time. Well, the real reason why it's been delayed, is I wanted to promote your TED Talk that was going to be absolute fire, and we were just talking before on the show that it's going to be a little bit delayed because of this whole pandemic. And I'll also say the reaction that our country has had towards this virus has been probably more alarming. Dude, I'm not going to read your whole bio because I would be like 30 minutes long. But I want people to know a little bit of who we're talking to. Jordan Paris is 22 years old. You're an author. You have an amazing podcast that if you want to go back to check out your podcast, check out the Growth Mindset University, check out episode 149. Yours truly got
Mhm.
interviewed. But dude, you've had some killer people on there. You've been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Men's Health, Yahoo, Finance, Market Watch, like all those things. If you're on LinkedIn, go find and follow Jordan Paris. He comes up with some incredible content. We got connected about a year ago, well, actually a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And I've just been blown away, man. I've been blown
Right.
away by your mindset.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit about your TED Talk, but I just want to take a step back. Jordan Paris, 22 years old. There's a lot behind that. Can you give a little bit of like your backstory, like who you really are, because that gives us context on what you've done and why you're so motivated. And then I want to
Sure.
delve
Well,
into some controversial topics around
yeah.
education.
I have no shortage of controversial things to talk about, but as we both know. But yeah, first off, man, thanks for having me. Seriously, I appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, look, I grew up very ordinary upbringing, and really nothing out of the ordinary at all. And I had this serving job from 16 to, I started as a busser, made my way to server, and from 16 to 18. 18 and a half, if you want to be precise. And I got out of there, and I said, never again. I won't work for anyone ever again. And thank God I've kept that promise ever since then. And there's really no turning back. And now I'm 22, about to turn 23 in a couple of months, and yeah, having fun with it.
Well, okay. So you are you almost graduated? You have one more year?
No, I did graduate. I did in May. Yeah,
All right,
of 20.
congratulations. This is
Thanks.
like the worst year to be a senior, or the best, depending on your mindset. Um,
Yeah,
Talk to me about like even pre-college, what kind of things that you wanted to do. I know that you said
sure.
you never wanted to be a server. Like, what were some of the things that motivated you? And then like a lot of times I ask like how your parents met because it gives context on some of your background. So you don't have to answer that, but like a little bit more
Sure.
about your upbringing, because I also
Sure.
think we've had conversations about how blessed we were to grow up. And yes, our parents may not have been wealthy, but they taught us some things, good and bad, that we are now being self-aware, saying like this is good and
Mhm.
bad.
Well, context, I will give that context, doctor and nurse, so you can imagine how they met, yeah. And yeah, what was before that? What was the question?
Just getting context on like what did your parents teach you?
Uh,
Like what paradigms did you come in? Because your whole we're going to talk about education, and you're going to share some things that I think are going to be really
oh, and
mind-boggling.
sure, and then some of I remember the question now, and you were talking about some of like what did you like aim to what were you thinking about before that, all that? Okay, yeah. Look, I was I was always pretty average, to be honest. You know, I don't know. I didn't really have high hopes. I mean, maybe like I wanted to be, baseball player or something like that. When I was really young, but really when I got into my teen years, I didn't have these big aspirations. Like I just wanted to get into a good school, and get a good job. And I wasn't even saying like I'm going to do these things. I was saying like I hope I'll get into a good school. I hope I'll get a decent job. I hope I'll make decent money. And I was just hoping, man. Hope is not a strategy. It's really not.
Well, it is. It's just not a good one.
It is, and it's a necessary component. Hope is, but if that's all you've got, that's a problem. That you see people who that book The Secret, they read that book and they just got to think about it, they just got to like manifest it and hope, like nah, it's not a good strategy. But yeah, like I had very middling desires and hopes and dreams, if you even want to call it that. And then something switched in towards the end of high school, where I started reading. Right, I picked up Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. I picked up a book called The Mastery of Love. I read How to Win Friends and Influence People, and all of a sudden, like, there was this radical shift in mindset and belief in myself and what I could really do with my life.
Yeah, man, I had the same kind of awakening where I started reading some of the same books, and I can very much, being your friend, you live by what Dale Carnegie talks about and how to win friends and influence people, because you just really are like you. There's not agendas behind what you talk about. You're a connector, and yeah, a better off person because you're in my life, and
Thank you.
that says a lot. So let's talk about this concept. You got into college. Did you think college was a scam or misleading before you got in, or is it something
No, I
that you
didn't.
just realized when you were there? Because you said
No.
earlier, you're like, the goal is to get a college degree so you could get a good job. When did that
Mm.
change?
Yeah, yeah. I remember there was a couple of moments in my freshman year. Number one, I remember being outside of my residence hall, which be a little bit pretentious here. I was the president of that building. I was the president of that residence hall, and I remember I was on the phone with my uncle Brian, who introduced me to those books that I had just mentioned. All three of those books. He turned me onto those. Also taught me how to work out and meditate and everything. So a lot of credit goes to him. And I remember being on the phone with him, and I was at the time a finance major or accounting, one of the two, and I was thinking about going to the other, finance or accounting. And then he's telling me like, dude, why don't you like do this like general business and spend more of your time like reading and doing and learning things that actually matter. I don't think he remembers that, and I only remembered it the other day. It's not something I think about all the time, but I remember that moment very clearly. Like I remember where I was like looking. It's just weird, And so that's like one little thing. Another thing is, it was like that was first semester. The second semester, I remember being in the car with my friend, and we were driving, and I I just remember thinking like I said to him, I think if I dropped out of college right now, I'd be good. And at the time, I had just gotten my National Academy of Sports Medicine certification in personal training, and I had just gotten a couple of my first in-home clients. Not working at a gym or anything, but making $60 an hour on my own. 100% goes to me. I'm not giving a cut to the gym or whatever. And I just remember, yeah, and I was like, yeah, I think it'd be okay if I dropped out. I was a freshman, and my friend Patrick, he's like, you know what? I think so too. And from there, I just started to realize more and more the crap that these college courses really were, and how they were not serving me personally. Maybe they served some people, but for me there was zero value in it. And people are like, oh well, you get what you put into it. Well, zero multiplied by anything is zero. I mean, no matter how much I put into it, it was not going to serve me. And if I did put stuff into it, it would have actually been a disservice to me.
Right,
I would have had to have gotten a job when I got out of college if I put more into school. Thank
right.
God I didn't. I after freshman year, really, I was done. And you can see, I went through my transcript the other day with my mother, she pulled it up for me, and we were looking at my GPA by semester. It was like first semester like 3.6, and then second like 3.5, and then like 3.6. And then you look at sophomore year, second semester, it's like 2.4. And then it's the next one's like 2.4. And then the next one's 2.4. And
And
so
you did you graduate? Can you graduate with a
I graduated
2.4?
like a 3.01.
All right, all right.
Because actually my last two semesters, I had just so figured out the system. I was so gaming the system, and so just like many people game the college system. And I just knew how to put in zero effort and get a high B or a low A. And so I did the last two semesters with pretty darn good grades, actually.
So any parent that's like set on college is like, my kids are not listening to this interview. I'm like hiding this from
Right,
them.
right.
My
Yeah.
my my hope is listen with an open mind, and we're a little bit different. We have the same, we have the same kind of outlook on college. I got a great point average just because that's kind of my personality. Like I want to do it. I can't help myself, but I will like I'll repeat what you just said. I put a lot of time into something, and if you actually look at the results, you actually look at what came from that. I am where I
Right.
am because of other things, not because of college. And what I found is college makes you focus on things that really aren't important, like grades. And it also, if you look at a lot of times, you're focused on like grades and like you're just focused on the wrong things.
Yes, it's about, Caleb, knowing what you want,
Yeah.
but also knowing why you want it. Like,
Yep.
because the quest for an A is absolutely meaningless
Yep.
without a higher purpose beyond just getting that A. If you know that A is going to, or for example, if you want to go save lives and be a doctor, like that's your purpose, you've wanted to do that since you were young, then yeah, go get that A because it's going to get you into medical school.
Yeah.
If you want to fight for innocent people on death row, then yeah, go get that A because it's going to get you into law school. See, the A in these cases is not the end, but it's a means to an end.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
like I said, the quest for an A is meaningless without a purpose beyond just getting that A. If you want to be an entrepreneur, study less, socialize more. I'm not saying party every single Friday, Saturday night, but
Right.
like figure out how to serve people. Figure out how to like create something, do a thing, put
Yeah.
something out in the market, test it, try to market it,
Yeah.
and try to get clients, try to get customers,
Yeah.
and spend your time executing on ideas. If you want to be an entrepreneur, don't spend time busting your balls to get an
Yeah.
A plus that's going to do absolutely nothing for you.
Yeah. A couple things. Value, like be just learn to be valuable. And you're totally right. Like one of the things that we do at Better Wealth is we try to like help people get clear on what they actually want and then get them there the most efficient way. And so if you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to be a lawyer, if you're even going to be like you have clarity on something and you know that the degree will get you there the best, no, nothing wrong with college. I think
Sure.
you and I can both say there's a lot of people in college that are worse off, that have no clarity, that come out with not just debt. Everyone wants to talk about debt, and let's talk about that. But let's also talk about the lost opportunity cost of time of 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 years
Right.
of not getting where you want to go. And not only are you in debt, but you're 6 years behind where you could be.
Right. The worst thing I see so many people, I'm not saying everyone, but so many people go to graduate school just because they get that 4-year degree and they're like, oh, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. So let me take on more debt. Let me get more education. And they go to graduate school for reasons no more than that. I think it's a big problem. You know, people are aimless, and aimlessness is a vice.
Yeah.
It really is. And if you're going through college aimlessly, you have no idea why you're there, no idea what you're going to do afterwards, and you're continuing to pile on student loan debt all the while you wander around aimlessly, then that's a gigantic problem. And it takes shape in the fact that we have $1.65 trillion of student loan debt in America. About 42.5 million Americans owe an average of $38,000, like $887. And you know the numbers change like little by little every now and then, but it's been at 1.65 for Long time, man. Or at least the past year that I've been looking. It's not going down. It's only going up little by little. And it's a lot of people that owe a lot of money. It's money that owing $38,000, that sets you back decades, if not an entire lifetime. I mean, young people, Caleb, are buying homes less often. I know you're quite the outlier. You have this great home. You got this great Tesla, right?
Yeah.
And but that's not the case. Young people are buying homes less often, and they're starting families later and later because, in large part, I think, because of them of dozens of millions owing $38,000.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it's awful. It's
It,
really it's setting people back, and you can't declare bankruptcy on it. It's like the only thing you can't declare bankruptcy on student loans. I think it almost borders on criminal the way, like, higher education has positioned themselves and created a cult like following to say you need this and you will not be successful without this. Just an absolutely brilliant marketing strategy. I mean, people talk about defunding the police, defund the police, defund the universities.
you
They
couldn't
got
help
plenty of money,
yourself.
man.
We got in. We got 20 minutes in, and then you went for it. So I
I
love
mean,
that.
look at these idiots at Harvard charging $50,000 for a Zoom education. My brother we met when I went to visit my brother out in Colorado, a Boulder, and they're charging the exact same price as they did last year for in-person classes. Now they're charging the same price for Zoom classes. The value is fundamentally different. Like they're not the same things. You can learn more from Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger, or for a much an exponentially
Yeah.
smaller fee than that. You could learn more. You could have a better ROI from just about any $15 book out there
Yep.
than you'll have with your freaking Zoom classes for
Yeah.
$50,000.
Yeah. So talk about you getting like accepted by TED because dude, you're young. Like you got the green lights of number one. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And then talk about how you would open that up and what kind of points that you would talk on. I know we covered some, but like, I mean, maybe this will be like the pre-TED talk. Like you'll get the inside scoop before you could become famous on TED.
Well, there are a few things. I had a whole note card of like tips that were given to me by an organizer uh, to get accepted to TED, and it's ironically enough, it's that organizer ended up accepting me months later, over half a year later. It's the note card is 1,000 miles away right now. I still have it, but I wish I had it in front of me. Some of the things on there are, when you're pitching your idea, when you fill out the form, say I have a clear and concise keyword concise. I have a clear and concise idea that I can talk about in 9 minutes. Now I just get your foot in the door. You'll get more than 9 minutes, more than likely. But just say, just because they got a budget in terms of time. They can't go all day. Not everyone can have a 16-minute talk. They want to, and they got to make tough decisions, and they can accept more speakers if they make their talks 12 minutes and if they make all the talks 16 minutes. So you come in, I can present this really quickly. That's a good sign. The other thing is you're really not going to get accepted, and this comes from that organizer, David Riggs. If you are not, if you apply and you don't reach out to any of the organizers or the curators personally, after you submit your application, if you don't do that, I mean, you're just gonna get filtered out with the rest of them. You're not gonna get accepted. No one's gonna pay attention. You're gonna get the standard decline letter. But if instead after you fill out the application, you reach out to some of the organizers, start creating a relationship with them, not trying too hard, but try to create a relationship with them. At least reach out. You're boosting your chances of getting accepted exponentially. And the only reason I got accepted to one is because I made a relationship with this guy.
Yep.
I was on the phone with him in February of 2019, and then in like September of 19, he's like, fill this out. I want you to apply when the applications came out. I was like, all right, awesome. And then November came, and I got accepted. So yeah.
So when you take the stage, what kind of things are you going to talk about? Like how are you going to open it up, and what's going to be the thesis of your TED
Sure.
Talk?
Essentially, college is useless without these four things. It's all about, if you do these four things, you will get the most out of your college experience. And it's through a series of four, I call them make the mosts. Make the most, number one, number two, number three, number four. Uh, and uh, and yeah, it's a way to get out of college without uh, a massive amount of debt. And if whatever little debt you do have to take on, and you can get out without regretting your debt. I forget the number in my talk. I was practicing my talk every day until it got postponed, so I haven't looked at it in many months, Caleb. But I think it was like 30 some percent, a high, or 40% like regret their debt. Regret taking on any student loan debt. And it was like a study by Merrill Lynch or something. But I mean, regardless, I have it referenced in the exact number in my TED Talk.
I have a friend who's like, yeah, I have a ton of debt over six figures, but I just had some amazing friends and experiences in college, and it was worth it. And I was thinking in my head, I'm like,
Hmm.
would it be possible to have those same friends and same experiences?
Hmm.
Now, maybe not, depending
Hmm.
on like where you travel, but it's like, it's so interesting. It's like, I agree with you. I do have some amazing friends and experiences. And guess what? It wasn't in the classroom that those
I
went down.
know. It's very funny. The people will often point to like the socialization aspect of like, and the network of why college is worth it because of those things. And but that's not what you're paying for. That's not actually the product. It's a side effect, but that's not what they're selling. Number one, and number two. I mean, Caleb, the types of people that are in my network, and school had nothing to do with it, man. I made a few close friends that I'll keep for life, a few,
Yep.
but as cold as it sounds, I could have, I mean, I would have made friends elsewhere.
Yep.
Um,
So,
I would have,
so to
and the
clarify,
networking.
I could play devil's advocate and say, Jordan, you're the biggest hypocrite. You
Mm,
got a college degree, but it just to
yeah.
be clear, you're not anti-college. You're just anti-aimlessly going to college and not having a clear direction of where you want to go because you're going to be worse off. Did I like summarize that well?
Yeah, I'd say, and I just think that there are better ways too. Like if Dean Graziosi, when he was on my show, gave the example of his daughter who wants to be an interior designer, loves art, wants to be an interior designer. Maybe she's like 12 or 13 right now, so things can change. But as it stands, she can either go to school and you know spend several years getting the degree and grades, and maybe getting an internship, or when after she finishes high school, she can reach out to the 10 top interior designers in America and write the best sales letter of her entire life, explaining why she will be the best employee ever for them for a year at a cost of $0.
Yep.
And she can learn from them. And then in half the money that would have been spent in
Yep.
college on tuition, on pointless courses, she could spend starting her own interior design business. And so
Yep.
when she's in her early 20s, she can be a businesswoman who has a great level of freedom.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that's just an I
Yeah,
just
and
think it's a better
build
path.
value and be able to quantify that value.
Yeah,
Like just like that's the mindset you have to think either in a network or in a portfolio or start your own business. I mean, not everyone's going to be an entrepreneur, but I have the statement of like you got to invest in yourself. You have to value yourself, and so start figuring out ways to increase the value that you bring to the world and be
yeah.
able to articulate that
Mhm.
because we're not just paid for the value that we bring, we're paid for the value that's realized through how we show up. And I just
Mhm.
think that is so great. Dude, you are incredibly connected, like
Hold on, I
incredibly
before
connected.
can we
Yeah.
before I get to that, I want to just close what I said about the interior design. People like, oh, how am I going to write the best? I don't even know how to reach out to them. What do I do? It's so easy to get in touch with anyone, and this will lead into our networking thing. So don't forget that thread. But So easy. You get hunter.io, a free Chrome extension, and you can go to like you go to Better Wealth. What's your website? Betterwealth.com or Better
Yep,
Wealth Solutions?
betterwealth.com.
Better
Yep.
Wealth. You go to betterwealth.com and you could literally find every email associated with that website. You can get in touch with Caleb real quick. You can go to grantcardone.com and find Grant's email like that. That's how I interviewed Grant. I just went to his website, found his email with hunter.io, a free tool, and he emailed me back in like 9 minutes. And then rocketreach.co is a great tool to use as well. And dude, just so simple. And then you write the email, and if you write it well, they reply. If you're brief and explain very clearly what's in it for them, instead of like begging them like, oh, I want I'll do anything to work for you for free. Then if you say that, you're giving them a homework assignment. They have to now figure out what you can do and what you're good at. That's like you should know exactly what you're good at and what you can do when you're approaching these people. So
I wanna camp on that for just a second, because I love that you just gave someone the alternative to college. Like, by the way, very valuable. So go back and listen to what Jordan just said. But okay, so if you're helping somebody, first of all, you got to get clarity on what you want. If someone's not clear on what you want, do you have any recommendations, like take a gap year, go work for free for some other
that's
people?
tough.
Like,
It's very tough. It's because taking the gap year. I mean, I'm not the gap year expert. My brother was like thinking of taking a gap year because of what they're doing at Colorado Boulder and with the tuition and Zoom classes, and but he was going to live in my parents' basement and do DoorDash. Like that's not a gap year.
yeah, exactly,
That's
exactly.
not it.
Well, yeah, and he would be taking a break from college, and so he probably already knows. Does your brother know what he wants to do?
Yeah, he's there for aerospace engineering.
Right. And so and I'll just give my 2 cents on this, and we can jam on this. It's like the best way is to just be intentional and learn. And I
Sure.
would say if you want to go to college but you don't have clarity on what you want, I would encourage you to take some time, not in your parents' basement and just like
Right.
doing a regular job, but to like go work for free for a couple people, find people that are successful, find people that you would be willing to trade places with, interview them, ask questions, see if you can internship, like be valuable. Don't just be like, oh, I'm going to be dead weight around here and just no. But it's like, man, there's so much opportunity. And so
Yeah.
is there anything that you would add or subtract to that as it
Yes.
relates to knowing where you want to go?
Yeah, you can also, I mean, this is the path that I took. This is how I eventually stumbled upon what I wanted to do with my life and where I am today. I mean, it started out with just reading and learning and becoming a
Yeah.
worldly individual, and learning from people who ought to know, and just doing different things. I got on camp. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I got on campus and I just started doing. Literally within the first week, I was a college cheerleader. I never had done a backflip or done any of that in my life before. And I played football the last year of high school. I didn't like I was not on my radar, but I that opportunity came across my desk, and I decided without hesitation, I'm going to do that. Uh, I was like, oh my God, I could run for president of my residence home. Done doing that. Yes, I'm absolutely doing it. I didn't even think about it. Decided without hesitation. And the other thing, I joined a fraternity. So I had friends in every sphere of the campus, and I was just doing all these things, learning about myself, and reading all along the way, and it really worked out for me. And I really do believe if you're constantly like taking chances and doing things and trying new things and reading all along the way, that you're going to have a very favorable outcome in your life, and you're going to figure out what you want to do. And the deciding without hesitation part, just do these things. Like, don't sit there and think forever like, oh, should I do this, weigh the pros and cons. When you're young, you got nothing to lose. Like, just literally just do it, because the goddess of good luck favors men and women of action. So and things will work out for you.
I love that, man. And if you're in college or you are going to go to college, or like we're not saying drop out. What we're saying is make the most of where
Yes.
you're at. And just because you're going to Harvard doesn't mean that you should just leverage the piece of paper at the end of your time. It's really like figure out the people and make good friends and make good choices, and opportunity costs of just every day. Just be relentless on making every day count. I want to talk about networking, and this also goes into if someone knows what they want and they may find that college is not for them, or they're trying to weigh, should I go to college or something else? What if someone has clarity on what they want in life? What are like networking 101 that has gotten people like you, like James and Grant Cardone and other like big name people on your show and just become friends with? Like what would your 2 cents be as it relates to networking?
Yeah, there's a few rules. Number one, treat everyone like they can get you a cover story in Forbes magazine. Number two, dig the well before you're thirsty. That's as in build rapport before, if ever, you need to go in with an ask of any sort, right? Don't just, when you go, don't just go to people only when you need something from them.
Yeah.
Treat everyone like they can get you a cover story on Forbes magazine, and like literally everyone, dig the well before you're thirsty with everyone, treat everyone like that. And opportunities are going to come to you in abundance. And then also, I think a podcast, Caleb, is just an unbelievable way to build a world-class network in record time. Like it,
Yep.
there's
Yeah.
there's really no better way.
Yep. Yeah. I'll
Because
say this.
yeah,
The only way that someone's getting my time if like for an
just
hour
yeah,
is if they get a podcast. Like I'll talk to people.
yeah,
I want to be really intentional with people. And I've talked to people and built friendships. And I have done that myself. I mean, man, as we speak, the episode that dropped was with Dave Meltzer. Love the guy.
great,
Love him, love him. And
yeah,
I got to spend time with him through the podcast. And example
yeah.
after example, I agree with you. It's one of the greatest leverage points that one could use.
I was just going to say that, because I don't get on the phone. I don't get on phone calls, random phone calls with people to get to know, like, people on LinkedIn. They like to, like, oh, let's, God, are you have any, are you free this afternoon? Are you free next week? Are you, no, I'm actually pretty expensive and I'm not going to get on the phone with just anyone. Like without a business purpose beyond it. Now people will say, well, Jordan, are you're not treating them like like they can get you a cover story in Forbes magazine, then that's contradicting one of your rules. Well, you could say that, but there's you don't have treating everyone like they can get you a cover story in Forbes magazine doesn't mean you have to like get on the phone with anyone and everyone who asks. If you get on the phone with anyone and everyone who asks, that's gonna be a pretty
Well, and
miserable
then,
existence. I mean, it would be for me. Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't get much done, and I just be left with no energy.
Yeah.
It'd be yeah,
Adam Grant in his book Give and Take talks about a 5-minute favor. And I live by this because it's like, okay, I want to serve people and I truly want them to be better off for having known me. But also if you look at successful people, if you look at what's the common theme? Time. They're obsessed with time because Bill Gates has the
yeah.
same amount of time as me as it relates to and each day. And so it's not like it's not I get what you're saying, and it's
Mhm.
not like not no one's important. It's just like how can we serve, and like just chatting for 45 minutes on a phone
Right.
call
There,
isn't the same.
I know there are just better ways, and a lot of time it's like with those types, it's they're very well intentioned, and I actually I will say I was guilty of that 3 years ago when I like was really starting to get active on LinkedIn. I would go in people's inbox and ask people like to just like just connect from a phone call, and but there's better ways, like, get to know me. I mean, there's so many better ways to get to know me. Like it's already out there, like on the internet, on my podcast. Like it's honestly a little bit selfish if all that stuff is out there, but you want to take my time personally, even though it's said way better like elsewhere. Like you don't. It's hard, and I know this will definitely come off as like cocky and pretentious. I get that, but look, uh, it's a difficult situation, I guess,
Yeah.
is what I'll say.
Yeah, I think it comes down to self-awareness, and just I think if you don't know what you want out of life, do the work that you need to do to make sure that you have some clarity on that. And by the way, you and I are both continuing to learn, and it's like you'll never have it figured out. But if you know the direction that you want to go, spend your time, connect with people, but and do so in a life-giving way. And for someone like
Yeah.
you, might be different than a mentor down the street or a local mentor.
Yeah.
You guys, it might be different the way that you guys get to each other,
Yeah.
but you will talk to people if the value's there. And I just
Yeah.
think there's a
Yeah. If
pun
it's there.
intended. Yeah, if there's a lot of value in being able to articulate that. Let's go back. This is called the Better Wealth Podcast. I love talking about money strategies, wealth, the mindset. I love the episode that we did together on your show because I
Mm-hmm.
really was able to articulate some powerful concepts. Jordan, when it comes to wealth, what is your mindset and how would you articulate better wealth?
Well, for me, better wealth is not spending all of what I get. I have this friend that she makes 3,900 a month and she spends 5,000.
Yeah, that, it's
It's just
not a good combination there.
no, and look, she actually doesn't now. She does, but at the time she didn't have to. Until recently, she didn't have to pay rent, and she was still spending that amount. And it was just like I couldn't believe it. It was like actually shocking to me. So look, man, I really don't. I really don't spend money on stupid things. Like every now and then I'll buy maybe like 5 months ago I got a nice pair of sunglasses and I'm looking at over there a $200 expense or maybe a little less. Um, and I don't and I got I got a nice car. It's like $440 a month and that's nothing because I don't spend on stupid
Yeah,
crap. I also don't make $1 million a year, but like I also don't even make over $100,000 a year yet. Now, by the end of 2020, we're fast approaching
yeah,
that ceiling. Not even a ceiling, but I'm about to charge past it, past that point pretty quickly. But I don't make that money. But I also know I'm a rich man
yep,
because I have freedom to be anywhere, anytime. I can live anywhere. Um, I don't have to answer to people, and for me, that's better wealth than I'd rather make 70,000 a year doing what I'm doing as than like $140,000 a year behind a desk working at like I don't know HubSpot
yeah.
or I mean I just need to rent. They're a great company, but I don't want to work for them. I
Yeah,
just don't.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't.
yeah. What I appreciate is I want to remind the audience that you're 22 years old and you have this kind of mindset, and already you've set up. I would say you're wealthy because you've set up a life that you love. You're going to get paid, and you're going to
Mhm.
continue to get paid more and more.
Right.
And I'm always in your corner, my friend. So I'm here for you anytime. Dude, one of the things one of the last questions I like to end all these podcasts with are the legacy question, which kind of goes like this. This is your last day on earth. The people that you love the most are in your life. What are you going to pass on and everything and all the experiences that you've learned? What are you going to pass on to them in your last conversation?
It's a good question. Typically when people have asked me about, impact and legacy questions before, I mean, you phrased it much differently, but people, when they ask like, oh, what kind of impact do you want to make beyond this lifetime? And I say, oh, I actually don't care. Um, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I want to impact 20 billion people. It's just not like, I don't really, I don't care about that. It'd be great. But I'm not, I honestly think like the whole impact, like, oh, I want to impact a billion people. It's a little bit of like ego. Cause they're saying I want a billion people to know my name more often than not is what people are trying to say when they say that. So I'm just not really like about that. I just hope that, my my curiosity and my ability to have fun and be a child in the best way shines throughout my life, and I hope that that's a good example to follow. Yeah.
I love that, man. How can people get in touch with you? Obviously, don't be sending Jordan and Calendly links, but like, how could people be in touch with you? Be in touch with the content that you're putting out, and I'm telling you, stay tuned, because you got multiple
Thanks.
conversations and TED Talks and viral videos in you. I'm excited to see them get produced.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, Growth Mindset University is my podcast. You can go to jordanparis.com/EP149 for Caleb's episode, Money Masterclass with Caleb Williams, and so start there. And then there's some great episodes. jordanparis.com/podcast. It's all there.
I love it, man. I love it. Appreciate you being on the show, and I can't wait to catch up in person.
Caleb, you're the man. I appreciate you. Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening to the Better Wealth Podcast. It would mean the world to me if you could hit subscribe, leave a review, and share this with the people that you know and love.